Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another this and that video. And for those of you who are new, these types of videos are basically a potpourri of everything that's going on around here during the week, or during the past week at least, and what's to come. Also to let you know of videos I may already have out, as well as videos yet to come. So let's get started. I want to talk first. We're going to get to the infused water soon because I'm going to make some right in front of you. But let's talk first about this heat wave that we had this past weekend. So when my last this and that video published, we were right in the middle of that heat wave at that time, and I shot that video just before, the day before we got hit with it. So we had 3 days in a row. Thankfully it was only 3 days, and for us, it is record heat for our area, especially at this time of year. Normally when we get those very hot days, they're not until August, and by then the garden's pretty well established. Not that a lot of us that are more acclimated now to the cooler climates don't have a hard time dealing with the heat, at least to an extent. We always seem to manage okay, and we don't have air conditioning, but fans and cooling off the house during the night the best you can by opening everything up is one of the ways we do it, and then close everything tight as soon as it starts warming up outside. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the effects of that heat wave on my garden. So some things were good and some things were bad. The worst thing that happened was my poor dark red gooseberries. They had just started getting to that point where they're going to ripen. And it was my first year to get that many gooseberries on my fairly young bush. Basically, the heat just cooked the berries right on the plant. Now, the interesting thing is, this did not happen with my blueberries or my currants. I did find a few withered up berries, but that happens every year. But for the most part, my blueberries and currants have done just fine. My grapes are doing great. My strawberries still did pretty good. I did have some that did start to cook a little bit in certain areas, but for the most part the strawberries survived just fine. But then it dawned on me, I had to really think about this. If you remember my last this and that video where I was doing the garden update, and I mentioned the gooseberries and how we figured out it was the sawfly larva that was eating those leaves down to nothing, and I didn't catch it in time. Well, the plant's still healthy, and none of the leaves on the plant withered and dried up on me through the heat wave. But because it was only just starting to recover and get those new leaves back in again, there was not enough coverage there to protect the berries. That's what my guess is that all my other plants are just full of leaves, and so the berries have stayed well protected and shaded from the sun because of that. But the gooseberries were fully exposed to the light as well as the heat, no shade whatsoever. So they all got cooked, and now they're all starting to fall off. So I knew when I looked at them, I'm like, they shouldn't all be the same color. They should be in varying stages from green to red. And I only had a couple survive, and those were ones that were lower down on the plant that were shaded by the other plants around. So that was pretty much a total loss and kind of sad, but thankfully it's not at this point something I totally rely on. As far as the rest of the garden, there were a few things that kind of suffered, like my rhubarb leaves look a little fried. Some of the new growth on my tomatoes in the greenhouse got a little fried, but the tomatoes in general are still, the plants look very healthy. It was just the new growth. I think if it was just been 1 day of that heat, it would have been fine, but 3 days back to back. And yes, I do have a fan in there, and on days like that, we run it full blast so we can keep that air circulating and the hot air kind of pushing out through the door. But the peppers, boy, the peppers were growing, I swear, by a couple inches a day during that heat. So they needed that boost. It was really good for them. So now I think I should get a pretty good harvest of my Chinese five color, and even might get some of the lemon habanero and the sweet red bell peppers, the little mini ones. I wasn't sure, but I think that heat wave is going to do them a boost. So I might get a better harvest of peppers that will help make up for losing all my gooseberries, and it gave my sunflowers a big boost as well. So that's what's going on out there. Yes, eventually I will do a thorough update on the garden and what's happening. So the infused water. So because of the heat, I had got myself a lot of infused water going. I haven't been drinking any hot tea. Normally I'll drink hot tea all year round, herbal tea, but when it's that hot, obviously iced is better. So people ask me sometimes about cold infusions. Well, about 3 years ago, maybe it was, I put out a video on making, and I call it vitamin water, because people go out and spend a lot of money on vitamin water when you can just make your own with whatever you have, be it limes or lemons, herbs or vegetables, cucumbers. You can do all kinds of stuff that will also help balance the acidity in your body. You know, like cucumbers and lemons are really good for that, but also add more nutrition while you're drinking that water to stay hydrated. So here's one I got going, I think it was yesterday morning, and this one is borage leaves and holy basil. Love it. If you've never tried borage flowers or leaves, they have a nice cucumber taste that's very refreshing, and so I like to use those a lot for infusions, and so that flavor with the holy basil just is very refreshing and tasty. Plus I'm getting all the benefits of those herbs. And now I'm going to start 2 more, and I'm just making these ones up on the fly as well. And so I've been doing the catnip and mojito mint hot tea for the sake of just kind of bringing the stress levels down with everything that's going on lately. And so I'm going to do one of those. So I'm just going to take these herbs and just shove them right into my jar like that. And yes, you can use those catnip flowers. In fact, I just shot a video that's going to publish in a few weeks from now on the benefits of catnip. So this is, I have an old one, but I didn't go into that much depth on that one. This one's, the one I just shot is dedicated just to the catnip. So there's that. And then the other one I'm going to do the borage leaves again. So I've got, oh, let's see, and these are quart jars, by the way, but you can stuff in however much you want. So I got the borage leaves, and then here's my holy basil. So I'm going to put a pretty good, I think I put in about 4 borage leaves, and then put in a pretty good bunch of the holy basil. Love holy basil, just the smell of it alone is wonderful. This isn't something I would use for seasoning, you know, for adding to spaghetti sauce. It has a very unique flavor that's different from your regular basil, even though they're related. But it has a lot of great health benefits, and one day I need to do a video herb profile on those. And then just for the sake of color, I don't do this often, but I'll add in some of the borage flowers. The flavor is the same as the leaves, but that will just add some pretty blue in there. Another one I thought to add would be some red clover. Red clover is very good for women's health, reproductive health, whether it be that you're in childbearing years or you're in menopause or going through menopause. So we'll just throw a few in there that's said to help with hot flashes too. We only consume the filtered rainwater that we collect. Well, we collect the rainwater and then we filter it. Any water, whether it be distilled, and if you're using city tap water, just try to avoid it if it's fluoridated. And if it's chlorinated, that's not the best for you either, but you can easily dechlorinate water, and I have a video just on that I'll put down below. But if your city water is fluoridated, you really should avoid consuming it as much as you possibly can. I know that's one of the things that we did, was removing ourselves from city tap water back when they were still fluoridating, to be able to help get ourselves off the thyroid medication, because that fluoride is really hard on the thyroid. So I'm just going to shake it really well, and I might have to push some of that stuff around in there so I can get a good picture so you can see all the pretty flowers. And then here's this one. This is the Mojito Mint Catnip. It's nice to mix it up, though I love mint. You know, I don't always like it. Sometimes I like to switch it up. So this is a nice flavor to have in there. It just adds a different flavor so I can mix it up. So there we go. Now you have 2 options. You can put that in your refrigerator and let it sit for a full day, a full 24 hours to infuse, so you can get all that goodness into the water. Or to speed up the process a little bit, you can make basically a sun tea by setting it out in the sun and let it get nice and warm, and let it brew for an hour to 2 hours. I wouldn't say for too long. And then just put it in your refrigerator until it's completely cooled down. Now you can put it in your freezer for a period of time, but you don't want to leave it in there. So if you're wanting to speed up that cooling process, make sure you set a timer, because if you put it in the freezer like this and forget about it, you will break your jars. And then not only will you lose your jar, you'll lose your infusion as well. All right, so moving on to a few other topics, let's talk about the rhubarb. So you'll see I have 4 bags of frozen rhubarb sitting back here. So this is the rhubarb I've been collecting. I was thinking maybe 2 1-gallon bags might be enough to make a 1-gallon jug of rhubarb wine, but then decided I better just be certain. So I went ahead and froze up 4 1-gallon bags of rhubarb. So now I'm thawing it out. So probably tomorrow I'll get started on making that rhubarb wine, and I will do a video on that. So it will be at least a month out, maybe longer, depending on how far through the process I decide to have the completed video. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is if you saw my video about ramping up our food storage, I will go ahead and link to that one down below in case you haven't seen it. So some of the newer things I've been adding to our food storage, a lot of it's more kind of luxury things just to add more variety to our food storage. And then one of the things I've been doing, even though I make my own crackers, I just have not had as much time to dedicate to doing stuff like that. So I decided to go ahead and stock up on some organic crackers, and I mentioned in that video these ones, and I found they're okay. I didn't care for them as much. It just didn't seem like they had a lot of flavor, but I appreciated the fact that they were still stone ground wheat with some other grains in our seeds of some kind. I can't remember, flaxseed, and that they're organic. But then I recently decided, I seen that they had the roasted garlic and herb. Oh my gosh, these ones are good. These are super, super good. So these are the things I get at Vitacost. So I'm so glad I got myself back into looking to see what Vitacost has. I used to buy from them just the supplements years ago, but then I kind of got away from supplements and started making my own supplements and didn't realize how much food they carried. So and for the price and the fact that you can get a lot of discounts and get coupons, and then with the Honey Gold, which I also did a video on, I earn a lot of points through Vitacost. So if I can buy some of my stuff through Vitacost, not only can I save money initially, I'm earning points that can then earn me money. So go ahead and check out that video I did on the honey, and I'll link to it in the description box down below. But anyway, I do recommend these ones. They're pretty tasty. Even though they're in a nice Mylar bag when you open it up, this brand and then the Late July brand, they come in their own little Mylar bags, which is nice. They don't have a Ziploc or anything like that. So I find it easier just to go ahead and put them right in a quart jar. Most of the boxes this size are going to fit into a quart jar, and then put a lid. You know, even though this is supposed to be leak proof, I still put a silicone ring in there, and then just put a tight fitting lid on there, and this has been working really well. And by the way, the baby really likes these ones. I haven't given him these ones yet, the garlic ones, but he really loves these. And even though he still doesn't have his teeth yet, he's just finally starting to get one of his bottom teeth, even though he's almost 9 months old. He knows how to gum his food to pieces. He does pretty good with that. So he loves those crackers, and it's something that's a little more on the healthy, organic side that I can give him as a snack. And then an update on the multi-purpose cleaning powder. So you might have just seen that video. It published on Thursday. So I'll link to that one down below. And that video, keep in mind, was shot about a month ago. And so now I've got a couple more updates I can give you on that. I've tried it for a few other things. I did try it in the electric washing machine. I let the dishes build up in there which is one reason why we don't use it. We just don't have enough dishes at a time to run it, so they can sit in there for days till I get enough to run it. So I went ahead and did that just so I could try it, and yes, it worked as good as I thought it would. And then a couple other things I tried it on was a direct stain removal on clothes. So I have this cute little white just blouse. This is something I would wear more over the top of a tank top, just for little added modesty, but to still stay cool and on the hot days. And so around the collar had been getting really dingy, and you know how it does around the collar, it tends to get dingy, you know, as your body oils get into there, and then it starts to collect dirt. And so I used the scouring powder directly on that. So I wet the collar down, and then I just gently kind of rubbed it in a little bit. And you know, you don't want to scrub too hard. Obviously you can wear out your clothes more, but a little scrubbing action like this. And yes, somebody did mention using the toothbrush to rub stuff into. I've used to do that. I've done it before, but it's just as simple, and you're not doing this so much that you're going to wear your clothes out that quickly. And it came out really nice. And then I to top it off, I went ahead and hung it directly in the sun, making sure the collar was on the outside so it could get well bleached from the sun, and it turned out beautiful. So there was that. And then the other thing I tried it on is, I haven't done it today, but you know, those of you who garden know how your hands, your skin, and your nails can get so stained, and it seems like no matter how hard you scrub or what you do, it just can't get the stains out. And I just kind of come to live with it. It used to be, it was so embarrassing to me, but then I thought, you know what? People can judge me if they want. This is what I do. I'd rather have my hands directly in the soil and touching the things with my bare hands, because that's actually healthier for you anyway. Besides getting your hands in that soil, you get that enzyme that helps release those endorphins that makes us happy. So I don't like wearing gloves when I'm doing that kind of stuff. But I found I could take that scouring powder and just a regular like fingernail brush or scrub brush, maybe even a scrub brush you would use on your vegetables, and just go ahead and scrub. Like usually right here is where it gets bad, especially that tomato tar. I finally realized a couple of years ago it was from the tomatoes, pinching off the leaves, that are the worst. That will actually turn your skin black. And so just scrub that in there a little bit and then finish washing my hands. And it actually did really good. And also scrubbed it into my nails underneath and on top. And that really did really good. That was the best of anything I've ever tried to get the stains out of my hand. Now, it didn't get them all out. There's always going to be those little crevices and creases that it's hard to get it out of, but it worked better than anything else. But a word of caution, remember that washing soda is going to be more caustic, so it's going to dry your skin out more. So it's recommended, if you do try that right away after you wash your hands and rinse it off really well, make sure you put some kind of skin cream on there. Like I use my homemade skin cream. I'll just slather it down and rub it in really good, and then it was just nice to have cleaner looking hands when I got to go somewhere. I mean, we've got a wedding coming up, and it would be nice if my hands could look a little cleaner for that at least. And then the last thing I want to mention is the neem oil. So as you know, I mentioned in my last video, I had a gallon of neem oil. I still have it, but I bought another one because I've been learning more about the uses of neem oil. And what I didn't realize, though I've used it, and I use it in my homemade bug spray, one of the things I didn't realize is that it will actually kill bugs on contact. And so if in my last video I was mentioning how I could put it in text. I didn't think to say it because, you know, I forget stuff all the time. But if you're going to use it on your plants to kill fungus on your rose plants or insects that are taking over like that sawfly, you want to spray it directly on the bugs. But especially if you're anything that's got flowers on it, you only want to spray it on early in the morning or at night while the bees are not active, because it will kill the bees too. So you have to be very careful. We want to protect our honeybees, but it's only active for like an hour when it comes to that. That's why it's safe later in the day. So you want to make sure you spray your stuff down at least an hour before you know the bees are going to start coming out and getting active, because by that point it should have killed whatever insects are on there that you're trying to get rid of. Because you know those caterpillars, they get on there, they stay on there, and they just keep eating and eating until everything's gone. So you can kill those on contact, and then it's safe by the time the bees come out. And I'm doing some more experimenting with this. I'm not going to talk about yet after kind of reading more about it, because I didn't know neem oil was one of those things that's good for killing funguses until a couple weeks ago. So that really surprised me. I knew it was good for dealing with pests, but anyway, it's totally natural. And it comes from a tree that's actually related to mahogany. And this is organic and it's pure. So I'll go ahead and link to this down below. This one was the best price. The other one I have is Dr. Adorables, but that one's like $75 for a gallon. And this one I think I paid $60. Yes, it's expensive, but a little goes a long way. And I decided to go ahead and grab another gallon because of its many uses. So I recommend that, and I will try to, once I get done doing some more experimenting with it, I'll try to get a video done on that soon so you can learn more about it. If you've got plants at least, but even for your own personal health, neem oil is good. All right, well that's it for the this and that for this week. Don't forget to check out the video links I'll be putting in the description box down below, as well as any other links. And thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.